Welcome back, doo-doo. I am so glad that you came back to the channel, my friend. Seeing is people are having a hard time processing that we're not always going to agree, but we don't have to be enemies. You know, this is something I've had to learn over these past couple of decades of marriage. I recall at the beginning, you know, when things were fresh and the intimacy and everybody's excited, me and my wife are enjoying our life together. I remember from time to time we would get in arguments, and during those arguments I wanted to win the argument. It didn't matter if we was talking about the laundry, we were talking about where to eat. I've always felt that it was a need to say I needed to be right. And I remember my wife and I, we'd just be arguing for endless amounts of time. And you look back and it's like, we don't even remember what we were arguing about. But as I look back on the earlier version of myself, I realized that my need to be right came from a place of fear. Yeah, there was some pride there, but it came from a place of fear because I felt that if she didn't understand where I was coming from, then we weren't going to get things right. And as time went on, I realized that it doesn't matter to win the argument. Sometimes to keep the peace, I just had to listen to what she was saying. And a lot of it came down to how I perceived life. You see, the younger version of myself, God bless that young man, the younger version of myself always wanted to assert the facts or what I knew and what I was doing. And sometimes I had to learn that all I really needed to do was listen. Sometimes folks just want to be heard. They don't care how much you know. They don't care how much you think that you're going to do or all the points. And you might wax poetically and say a lot of great things and give a lot of facts. But sometimes it's lost. Because if I want to be right and they want to be right, sometimes no one is right. No one grows without some kind of struggle. We see it in nature, we see it in our own lives. And sometimes that struggle comes in the form of things that we hear that we don't necessarily agree with. One of the things that concern me nowadays is we have all this great technology and we have this great potential for goodness. But on the other side of it, sometimes is what it does is with these algorithms and the things that we like and all these preferences, it starts to create a bubble of a world to where all we see and the only feedback that we're getting are things that agree with us or things we want to hear. And we block out everything else that's not in line with what we think is right, and everything else will not come through. And if it does come through, we're going to fight it vehemently. We want that other person to know that you're wrong, I'm right, and we're going to fight each other. When you look back, and a lot of times, a lot of anger really comes from a place of fear. You're afraid that you're not going to be heard. You're afraid the other person isn't going to believe what you believe. You're afraid that if you lose the argument or someone doesn't understand your point, the country's going to go down. Your marriage is going to fall apart. And I'm not ignorant to some of these things. They need to be hashed out and we need to have discussion and dialogue. But ultimately, having a different point of opinion sometimes can be healthy. In fact, as I look back in my marriage, a lot of times, some of the things my wife was saying, and she's not around right now, were actually true. It didn't matter what I was saying. If I were just to listen just a little bit better, I think I would have been understanding. You're not always going to be right. It doesn't matter how much you study, how much you know. Everybody has a weak side or a certain part of your argument or your belief that won't hold up underneath a different argument or belief. But sometimes I don't think that's even the issue. The issue is when we fail to listen to someone else's point of view, then we're missing the point, because growth often happens with that wrestling, with the conflict, with a different opinion. It even makes me think, not just in my marriage, I used to be very dogmatic with certain things. I used to have certain religious views and points. And again, I'm not here to debate about religion or different points. But I remember I was so adamant about what I believed that I thought that if these people didn't believe what I believe, something's wrong with them. And I created this whole worldview that had everything to do with I'm right, you're wrong, and you're going to listen to me. And I remember arguing with this guy for hours trying to get my point across. And it didn't work. And I'm so glad I went through that process of my life. Not that it was fun at the time, but on the other end of it, I'm starting to see, did it matter? Did it really matter? Were lives at risk? If he understood my point and I won the argument, did I ruin the friendship? Could there be something there? And so as I move forward, I start to realize that, man, developing the ability to listen to someone in the midst of your disagreement causes you to grow. You could actually start to listen and learn and just listen to the person without having a back and forth or just trying to counter what they're saying. When you actually listen to people, what I'm finding is you're probably more in line with that person than you would like to admit to. Listening to people gives us the opportunity not only to challenge our thought process, but to also have empathy, to be able to understand from somebody's point of view. Because if two people are always at conflict or no one's willing to listen, progress will never happen. You know, you sit there and look at the world history and you wonder how things happen, and it's no surprise, like where we are today. We're this side against this side and everybody's butting heads. Left, right, up, down, all this other stuff. A lot of these arguments are frivolous and they're based off of fear. Fear what's going to happen, fear with that. You know, get rid of the fear and start listening to other people. Start understanding that a different viewpoint isn't hostile. A different viewpoint isn't tantamount to hatred. It literally is just a viewpoint. Now, some people might walk away being hateful, and that's them. There's always going to be that percentage of people. But challenge yourself. Next time you hear somebody that says something you don't like on a topic, hear them out, listen to them. And not just listen to counter the argument, truly listen to what they're trying to say. Because out of the 10 things they say, you might actually agree with 6 of them or 5 of them or 2 of them. And find that common ground so you could have good and healthy dialogue. It might challenge you. It might even make you be a better person if you give it a chance. So don't ever give up on listening to other people. Don't always try to fight with people just because you don't agree with them. Some of these things we're put in our minds is because they want you to continue. They, whoever they is, you know, the powers that be, the man, whoever. They just want you to keep hating each other because you'll be distracted. You'll end up wasting your life being bitter over things that really didn't matter that big of a deal. So give it a try. Listen to other people. Invite criticism in your life, constructive criticism from trusted sources, and learn how to listen even when it's difficult. Once again, I appreciate you taking some time to listen to good old me. If there's any value that I'm providing, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so I can continue to put out videos, explore this journey of changing that mindset, having a transformation so we could change the world for the better, because we can all do our part. I appreciate you. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Waves of hope.
Yeah, you know it feels so good, and it feels so good.